Michela meets with Oliver and tells him that she went to ask for help from her father. He told her that if she can't protect her friends, then she will lose them the minute she gains them. This made her decide to go to the labyrinth, and she wanted to tell him before she goes there. Oliver is against the idea because she could die there, but she is determined. She tells him that when the chimeras grabbed Pete, she quickly realized that they wouldn't kill him, and she wanted the rest of them to survive by not going after the chimeras. She begs Oliver to let her go because she will not be able to face Pete the same way again. Oliver decides that he will go with her, but she refuses. If the others find out that the two of them were going, they would follow behind as well. Milligan appears, her hair covering her left eye, and tells them that all they're doing is deciding whether one or both of them will die. She asks to talk to them at the greenhouse, along with Katie. Oliver doesn't understand why Katie is selling herself to Milligan, but Katie says that if that's what it takes to save her friend, she will do it. Milligan praises them for their friendship, that they are willing to sacrifice themselves to save each other. Oliver asks to rescind the offer that Katie made to Milligan because she didn't even consult with her friends first. He asks Milligan what the chances of Pete surviving at the hands of Ophelia are, since Milligan and Ophelia are the same year. Milligan tells him that she knows what kind of a person Ophelia is and what is happening to her at the moment. And knowing what kind of a person Pete is, she estimates that he only has a 20% survival chance. The reason is because Ophelia would do anything for her research, but what she does takes time, which is why there's even a chance for Pete to survive. However, Oliver and his friends can increase the chances if they do something. Oliver asks what she means, but she changes the subject. She talks about how her research has reached a dead end since Darius has gone missing. She wants Katie to help her because they both have a common interest in interspecies communication. She wants Katie to join her research because she was the key to giving intelligence to the troll she once encountered. Milligan proposes that she trains the students even though Ophelia is much stronger than her. They won't be able to fight head-on with her and win, but they can one her up and save Pete. Milligan will find her lair and take them there. After all is done, she wants Katie to become her research partner. Katie immediately accepts the offer. She tells Oliver and Michela that she will not let them refuse her because the deal is not too bad. However, Oliver doesn't trust Milligan. He thinks she's hiding something, and she says that figuring out what she's hiding is part of the deal. Katie begs the two to accept the deal. In the end, they accept the deal and bring everyone to Milligan. They use her portal to go to the labyrinth, but Katie and Guy stay behind. Katie is tasked with looking after a live hand, which will help her access Milligan's research notes if Milligan doesn't make it back. Katie accepts, and the group departs. Pete wakes up in Ophelia's lair and starts to panic when he sees the other students who are sleeping, with tentacles wrapped around their necks. He pretends to be asleep when Ophelia comes to tell them to continue sleeping, and that at the end, it will all be just a bad dream before leaving. The group makes it to the labyrinth, and Milligan tells them about Ophelia's clan, whose ancestors were succubi. This makes them capable of mixing the natures of different species together within the womb and birth the offspring. They wanted to create the perfect life form for many generations, but they failed, which made them go extinct little by little. Now, they use their wombs to create synthetic beasts to perform a variety of tasks for them. Recently, Ophelia created the chimeras she used to kidnap the students, and that takes a lot of mana. That's why she kidnapped the students. She wants to squeeze the mana out of them in order to create more chimeras or something more sinister. Michela asks if it hurts the students, but Milligan says that Ophelia must have put them to sleep so they won't feel anything. They'll weaken by the time their vitality has worn out. When Michela asks what vitality means, Milligan explains that Ophelia drains out the semen because she only needs male mana. The group becomes concerned, and Nanao reveals to Milligan that Pete is a reversey. Oliver doesn't want her to reveal this information, but she argues that Milligan is an ally and is risking her life to help them. As they continue to walk, the group asks Milligan what Ophelia will do to Pete when she finds out that he's a reversey. Milligan responds that this will frustrate Ophelia because she'll see it as a hindrance and hurt him. So they need to hurry in order to save him in time. They reach an area where they find a chimera blocking their way to the second layer. Milligan tells the students that they need to be third years to be able to defeat it because it's out of their league, so she resolves to deal with it herself, telling them to watch and learn. Milligan charges the creature and gives the students lessons on what to do next time they're confronted by the same situation. First, they have to understand the monster's weakness. The chimera is blind and uses its tentacles to find and feel things like the decoys she created, which may be a threat to it. Second, when the students fight, they need to make sure that they weaken the monster before they go all out on their finishing blow. But at the same time, they should make sure that they don't drag the fight for too long. Third, they need to fight with a plan in mind that will eventually lead them to that final blow, which will end the fight. However, they need to be careful because the chimeras are not stupid, and even with being blind, they can still tell what's a threat and what's not. Milligan says this as she stops rushing the monster and walking as simple as the decoys she created. She explains that the chimera has recognized the pattern of movement made by the decoys, which she imitates to fool the chimera. The chimera doesn't touch her because it thinks she's not a threat, allowing her to get closer to it and deal her final blow. The students are impressed because she made it look easy. She tells them that it might have looked easy, but doing all the steps on their own without each other's help is the difficult part. They need to work together to make it work. Nanao chooses to do the last step, which will bring about the end to the chimera. She encourages the others to try their best because they worked together before and they won. Milligan agrees because if they hadn't won in the past, she wouldn't have tried to help them. Michela tells Nanao to stop trying to be the one who puts herself in danger for others. They will do all of the 3 steps together, and Nanao understands, telling Michela that she will try her best to think better going forward. Milligan then tells them that they will enter the second layer of the labyrinth, which is a forest. They make it there and walk for a very long time till they reach a cave. In the cave, they take rest, and while the others are sleeping, Milligan and Oliver sit around the fire. Oliver can't sleep because he's worried about Pete. Milligan asks him why they are risking their lives for Pete even though they haven't known him for that long. Oliver tells her about the first time he met Pete and the others during the entrance ceremony. When Katie was in trouble, they all came together to help save her life. He says that Pete was non-magical and must have been scared by the situation, but he didn't run away even though that would have been fine. He helped them save Katie, and now they want to help save him too without running away. Milligan thinks this is a beautiful thing for their friendship. She likes it, but she isn't interested in any of it. She is only interested in Oliver. She doesn't understand how he is an average mage, but still the same as Nanao and Michela. Both the 2 girls were born in extraordinary places or families, while Oliver is just another student with no special talent. She thinks that something must have happened in his past to make up for his lack of talent, that it led him to where he is now. Oliver becomes wary of Milligan, but she says that she's not going to ask what it is that happened to him. She just worries for him more than she worries for the others. The next day, they all prepare to go to the 3rd layer by taking a boat and traveling through a lake. Oliver telepathically tells Ms. Karst, who has been following them since, to go back to the surface because he's going through a lake now. Ms. Karst understands as she watches him get ready to leave. Milligan gives the group another lesson before they leave. She shows them the lake walk, which allows her to walk on water. She explains that the technique requires a mastery of all the fundamental elements of special magic. She asks Michela and Oliver to give it a try because they know about it. Oliver thinks that he can't do it because he was told the first years are not equipped enough to use it yet. But Milligan tells them to try it even if they fail. When Oliver and Michela hesitate, Nanao rushes to try first, but she sinks to the bottom and becomes bummed out because she wasn't able to figure it out. Oliver goes in next and thinks about how he'll pour his mana onto the water's surface and distribute his weight evenly on both of his legs. This works, and he's able to stand on the water. Milligan tells him to walk then, and he remembers his mother who would glide on the water's surface as if skating on ice. She told him that he'd be able to do it someday too. Oliver uses the same technique his mother used and glides on the water, which impresses his friends. He asks Nanao to join him, and she does, finally able to stand on the water and walk on it as well. Milligan prompts Michela to join them as well, and she does so successfully. This makes Milligan feel responsible for their lives and wishes that they could return back safe. After, they take the boat and travel across the lake. They discuss the spell that Milligan has used to create wind around the sails of the boat to move it accordingly. But at that moment, they find skeletal remains of the beasts that Cyrus has collected. He appears and immediately blocks their way, making Milligan stop the boat before they crash into him. He asks why they're there, and when Milligan tells him, he becomes hostile. He tells them that if they want to end up dead, he should clap them himself so that he can use their corpses in his research. The students panic and try to draw their swords, but Michela asks to cooperate with him. She says he doesn't have a reason to be on the 3rd layer either, so he must be there to be the first to get Ophelia's research results. However, Cyrus denies this. He has no interest in Ophelia's research. Milligan then assumes that he's there to be the last one to see her alive, but Cyrus denies this too. He says that he's there to attend Ophelia's funeral. Milligan asks him why he's making a fuss if he's just there to attend a funeral. She asks this as she prepares a spell behind her back, which Oliver notices. But she doesn't use the spell because a water chimera appears from the water and attacks Cyrus' monster. Milligan pretends to want to fight with the chimera, but activates the wind spell again and leaves the scene, leaving Cyrus to deal with the chimera alone. Later, when everything's calm, Milligan thanks Michela for buying them time. Nanao asks Oliver what Milligan meant when she asked if Cyrus wanted to be Ophelia's last visitor. Oliver tells her that when someone has been consumed by the spell, one person is allowed to visit them to witness their death. They continue their journey and arrive at the island where Ophelia is and rescue Pete. Pete later wakes up and sees that his friends have saved him. Oliver rushes to hug him and tells him that he did great by staying alive. Pete becomes emotional and cries. They ask him how he managed to escape, and he tells them the story. When he was still in Ophelia's workshop, Joseph woke up and they started talking. Joseph figured out that Pete had changed into a girl because Ophelia's perfume didn't affect him. Pete asked him to help him escape, but Joseph stopped him from talking too loudly because if Ophelia found out about his identity, she would clap him. He told Pete that the situation could be taken advantage of though. He cut himself on the stomach and stuck his hand inside, which scared Pete. He pulled out 3 orbs, which were an explosive, smoke, and distress orbs that he gave to Pete to use and break out of the place. He could also use them to call for help after waiting for Ophelia to leave the workshop. Joseph told Pete that he was entrusting him with his life and asked for his name. After some time, Joseph stopped sensing Ophelia's presence in the workshop and told Pete to get ready to put their plan in motion. Pete used the explosive orb to destroy the cage they were in and used the smoke orb to get away from Ophelia's chimeras that were guarding the place. He found his way out of the place and used the distress orb to create a signal for someone to find him. However, while doing that, he fell to the ground, which he slowly got sucked into. He started to think about his friends and how he didn't want to die there. Luckily, he was found by his friends who saved him. Right then, Ophelia appears in front of them and pulls out a knife to fight them. She asks Milligan what she's doing there, and Milligan tells her that she just wanted to help her underclassmen save their friends. She explains that they aren't there to interrupt what she's doing and asks to be let go. But Ophelia tells her that she's no longer human and won't be able to sympathize with her because she has reached the pinnacle of her clan's magic. She begins to chant an incantation and Milligan tells the group to start attacking her before she finishes her spell. However, even with their efforts combined, they can't do anything to Ophelia as her tentacles defend her while she continues to set up her spell. Gwen and Shannon witness Ophelia's spell come to life from afar, creating a large dome around her and the others, making Shannon become worried for Oliver. As the spell continues to encapsulate the whole place, Ophelia's tentacles continue to fight against the students. After her spell is complete, the dome becomes completely cut off from the outside world. It's a grand area, which is the greatest and most impressive magic feat achieved by someone who uses a single magic. Milligan is impressed that Ophelia was able to achieve grand area at such a young age, even while being consumed by the spell. 2 other students appear. One of them is Michela's relative named Stacy. The other is Lynette. They came there to save Faye, Stacy's attendant. Milligan briefs all of them that they are currently inside Ophelia's womb, and that she has rejected the idea of creating a new life form. Instead, she has taken another idea, creating Endless Chimera. They will no longer be able to leave the area unless Ophelia lifts the spell or dies. The students get ready and Milligan tells them to get into their true forms to use all their power. She asks Lynette to put a barrier around them, even when Lynette says she's not confident in her skills. Once inside the barrier, Oliver tells them that Michela and Milligan are the key to their attack with their firepower, and that the rest of them have to make sure that Ophelia or her chimeras don't get close to them. They all agree, and Michela and Milligan uses their fire magic to attack some of the chimeras, which amuses Ophelia. Milligan goes to taunt and mock Ophelia about her past. She tells her that the reason she refuses to die now is because she's trying to hold on to life because of her first love. She compares her to a swamp snake falling in love with a unicorn because she liked Alvin. This angers Ophelia, who screams for her to shut up. But Milligan continues that even if she and Alvin had worked out, she would have just stolen his seed and never loved him because that's the kind of person she is. This infuriates Ophelia even more. She sends her chimeras to go after Milligan, but Milligan and Michela burn all the chimeras down. Milligan tries to get closer to Ophelia, but Ophelia quickly grabs her with one of her tentacles. The motion makes Milligan's hair reveal her left eye, and Ophelia makes eye contact with her. This causes her to turn into stone. Milligan is happy to see that Ophelia is still human and is affected by her eye, but Ophelia breaks off the spell, revealing that the magic doesn't work on her anymore. She tightens the tentacles around Milligan's body, causing her pain as she begins to worry about the other students. Even when Milligan is in the worst state, she continues to taunt Ophelia about achieving the highest feat in magic, but still holding on to the past like she's innocent. This makes Ophelia decide to crush her, once and for all. She yells that they don't know anything about her. At that moment, Alvin and Carlos arrive outside the grand area and ask Ophelia where the students she kidnapped are. Ophelia brings some of them out and tells them that she doesn't need them anymore. Before she can leave, Alvin stops her and asks her to draw her sword because he's not going to just let her go. Inside the grand area, Ophelia's chimeras start to lose power and move away from the students. Oliver asks the students to create a distraction while Nanao tries to get close to Ophelia and clap her. They all agree, getting on their brooms and targeting the chimeras. The chimeras attack back, and some of the students fall off their brooms. Oliver tries not to fall, but he ends up falling as well. He shouts for Nanao to head for Ophelia. Nanao does as told, and as she's swinging her sword down to Ophelia, she sees her crying, which makes her hesitate. Then, one of Ophelia's tentacles hits her, and she falls to the ground. Oliver walks over to her, and Nanao apologizes for hesitating. She tells him that Ophelia is only a child, and she can't clap a crying child. Oliver comforts her, and they all get up to fight against the chimeras again. Michela apologizes to Pete for failing to save him, but Pete gets up and stands with her, sword in hand, ready to fight too, which makes Michela hopeful. Ophelia continues to cry for all the regrets she has and how lonely she was. She wishes she didn't have a name because if she wasn't born a Salvadori, she would have been something more than just a womb. She misses the times she worked well with Alvin and the others. Being who she is made her realize how terrifying it was to fall in love. At that moment, they hear singing, and the grand area starts to break. Alvin and Carlos appear. They walk up to Ophelia and apologize for making her wait, which makes her happy to see them. Carlos walks even closer, but Ophelia doesn't want him to because her tentacles keep hitting him. However, Carlos just lets it be. Oliver runs to them, worrying about Carlos, but Alvin stops him because only Carlos can do this. Carlos tells Ophelia not to be in a rush as he takes off his choker and throws it into the air. The choker glows, and when it hits the walls of the grand area, the dome starts to crumble, and he continues to sing. Oliver asks Alvin what is happening, and Alvin explains. Ophelia's and Carlos' families had a pact, and Carlos was sent to be with Ophelia if she ever was consumed by the spell. Carlos was able to break the grand area on his own by singing his song, which was frozen in time. Oliver figures that Carlos is a castrato, which is why he has a high-pitched voice. His song resists any sexual magic that exists, which makes him perfect for Ophelia. Carlos continues to sing while walking towards Ophelia, who keeps resisting and asking him to stay away. Ophelia remembers the time when they were young, and Carlos promised to always make her happy always. He gets to her and hugs her, apologizing for not keeping his promise. Ophelia continues to cry, and Carlos tells her that he loves her forever and ever. Ophelia responds that she hates him and hugs him back, causing the spell around them to start lifting. The sight makes Alvin emotional. He says farewell to his best friend, and Carlos says it back, but only in his mind. As the spell lifts, Ophelia and Carlos join hands and disappear together. The students are brought back to the labyrinth, and Oliver meets Gwyn and Shannon, who were worried about him. All the students go back to the surface where they meet with their friends and teachers. Katie is happy to see Pete, and Faye reunites with Lynette and Stacy. All the other students are relieved to see the ones who were kidnapped, and Joseph is among them. Oliver and his friends form their sword Rose to symbolize the strength of their friendship once more. Oliver thinks that the end that Ophelia met was a better one, which is unlikely. As the friends go back to their dorms, they meet the teachers on the way and bow in respect or fear. As the teachers pass, Oliver admits that there's no point in imagining what his end will be because he knows where he's headed. His smile fades when all the teachers have passed because he can only pretend for so longer before their time to die comes.